Hey everyone, welcome to Let's Level Up series where I'm Vikki Williams, the Tennessee State Broker at Epique Realty, and every Friday I have a new guest joining me that is a top producing solo agent or team leader here at Epique Realty. And we open this call to any agent, any brokerage, just to come and learn and grow and find out how you can level up your business. This is from rookie brand new agents just got licensed last week to agents that have been doing this for a long time and maybe they're just feeling stuck or maybe they're doing great but they want to take it to that next level. So today we have a really special guest that I'm super excited about. I want to introduce you, although she needs no introduction, to Robbie Johnson out of Texas. Hey Robbie.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the call today. Start off by just sharing a little bit about you, where you're from, why'd you get started in real estate? How long have you been doing this?
So, I got started in real estate in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I owned a business with my now ex-husband, and I tried to divorce him 4 times. It took me 4 times to finally do it. And in one of the times I was trying to, I decided that it would probably be best that we not work together. And so I was like, that looks easy. I'm just going to become a real estate agent. So we all know that it's not easy, but that's the way I viewed it. But what I did love about it is that I could control my own schedule. So I was a real estate agent in Baton Rouge for about a year, and we relocated to Destin, Florida. And when I relocated to Destin, I became a broker in Florida. And fourth time was a charm, and I was finally divorced. And then I met the love of my life, Jeff Johnson, who lived in a town called Abilene, Texas. I have no idea where that even was. Like, where is that? And so I ended up moving to Abilene. And so now I'm starting over once again in real estate. And in 2018, my daughter, our oldest, Hadley, got married in Destin. She was still living in Destin. And so we went to Destin for the wedding. And I said, you know, I'm from here. Like, do you think we could own here? And he said, no, we're not owning in Destin, Florida. And so I took him through Gulfport and Biloxi on our way home purposefully. And the next morning he said, I could own here. I really like it here. And I was like, I have skills. I can make that happen. And so we bought a condo that day. And I then got my broker's license in Mississippi. So I'm technically a licensed broker in Florida, Texas, and Mississippi. So that's kind of my journey, right? I let my license go inactive in Florida after my daughter left Florida. And so I stay very active in the Mississippi market and the Texas market.
What I'm hearing is that you're an underachiever. You just don't want to do much. You just want to coast through this thing called real estate, have one or two deals a year. No,
Yeah.
that's huge. That's huge. You're very successful, clearly. And you've grown a massive power team at Epique Realty. You were originally in Florida. Well, you were originally Louisiana, then Florida, and then you had to leave a market that you were really immersed in. You were parts of the Board of Realtors, Women's Council. You had a family, lots of friends, lots of family, and then you uprooted and moved to Texas, like you said, for your husband, which is a great reason. You said you started over having to build a brand new business. And I like the words you used, build a brand new business, not not just learn a brand new market, not just meet a brand new group of clients, but you had to build a brand new business. Tell us more about that.
It was interesting, and I know a lot of other agents go through this as well. But when I came to Abilene, I was new again, and I was new to the agents here. And I'm like, I'm not new. I've been in this business a long time. I am not new, but I was. And I was new to that area. So I had to go back to the basics, just like a brand new agent. And I had to build my business and keep my business going in Florida because Florida was still paying the bills.
And we're going to talk about what those things are as we go through this call today. So, if you are a brand new agent or an agent that hasn't kind of reached what you feel to be a successful place in your career, take notes today. Okay, so let's start. And I asked you this question earlier. Tell everybody what you said. I'm going to ask you again, Robbie, on camera. An agent comes to you and says, Robbie, I'm in a desperate situation. I have to have 3 transactions closed by December, or I'm not going to be able to pay for Christmas. I'm not going to be able to pay my board renewals. I'm going to have to hang up my license and get out of this business. What should I do?
So the first thing that I'm going to suggest is I want to see their calendar. I want to look at why they're not being successful because many of your issues are found in your calendar. You are either not scheduling yourself appropriately, or there's a lot of fluff time in your calendar where you're lost in what to do next. So, first thing we're going to do is look at the calendar. We're going to look at your non negotiables in life and what those are. And I'm going to coach you around where you can find success in that calendar with your time. The next thing that I'm going to suggest is that you reach out to your sphere, and there's ways to do that in order to be successful. I would highly recommend you getting involved in the Power Academy, my 75 Days to Success. There's different programs out there that you can get involved in to jumpstart your business. But just reaching out to your sphere and not knowing how to effectively reach out to your sphere is two different things. But it's your sphere and open houses. And if you don't believe in open houses, I'm going to share with you that for some agents and for some teams, open houses is a business. And it is, as I shared with Vikki earlier, it is an NAR study fact that an agent's first 4 transactions come usually from their sphere. This is on average, their sphere or open houses. Yes, there are some agents who join teams who are lead producing teams, so to say. They buy leads through Zillow or whatever, and your transactions might come from that. You're probably paying a hefty split on that. But for your own transactions, it's sphere and open houses.
And we called that kind of the magic pill. So some
Oh,
people want it to
absolutely.
be more complicated, right? Like, no, but what should I do? I know I should do sphere and open houses, but really, what should I do? And that's really what you should
To
do.
do. I actually wrote a blog, gosh, it's probably about 5 years ago, and it was called The Magic Pill. And that's what I talk about. I mean, this is the magic pill. It is learning how to build relationships through your sphere and through working open houses. There's your magic pill.
There's a big difference between working open houses and hosting open houses. And you believe an open house, if you're going to work it for a business model, that you have to put a week to 2 weeks prior to that open house, start planning, strategizing, preparing for that open house. And I think a lot of agents get that so wrong, so wrong. So tell us, 3 key things that are going to set your open house up for success.
Well, one is signage. So putting that sign in the yard, some agents will show up the morning of the open house. The open house is at 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Sign goes in the yard at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. Okay, so we put signs in yards way before that. Another, great thing, and we preach on it, not all do it, and that is signage. So lots of signage, maybe 3 signs on a corner pointing to where that open house is going to be. So signage is a huge thing, and it can't be the day of. Another, if you can, depending on where the open house is, but if you're in like a neighborhood type of setting, I suggest what's doing 5, 5, 10. So 5 houses on one side, 5 houses on the other, 10 across the street. And you just basically knock on the door and say, I'm hosting an open house. Would love for you to come and join me at the open house, see the house. If you know anybody who is moving into the neighborhood, that spurs the conversation. Another key to success with open houses is basically knowing how to engage in a conversation with the person who's walking in. My style is usually, so are y'all from Abilene? Are y'all moving here? And then they'll start, we're looking for our child. I mean, whatever it is. And then another thing that we do is, you want to find out if they're working with another real estate agent. So you're not wasting your time. Um, but if you say, are you working with an agent? That's a yes or no. So what we say is, who's opening doors for you? Now they have to give you a name. And so it's a lot harder to deliver that name at times if they're not going to be truthful. They can say yes and not be truthful. I'm working with somebody. They've answered your question. But if you say it in the other way, then if they can't deliver an answer to you, it's, I'd love to be able to do that for you. What does Friday look like for you? And I can get some appointments set. So it's just the engagement and how to engage with them. Those are great.
Love that. Those are
Lots
your
of
three tips. There's probably 300 more that go along with that,
a
but those
whole
are enough
lot.
to get you started, right? And
Yeah,
the beautiful thing is you don't have to be a pro to get started. You have to get started to become a pro. So just get out there and learn from your own, like when someone leaves, review that, right? Robbie, like how did that go? What could I have done differently?
exactly. And another thing too is once you get, I'm trying to pull out information from them. So once they leave, I will jot down on the back. I have a little survey that they fill out, and I usually jot down things on the back of that. And so for me, my follow up is always a handwritten thank you note. And that doing the handwritten thank you note has generated a lot of business for me. I'm just, going to
That's a great
say that.
idea. And a lot of agents are not doing that. So I hope you guys heard that tip. That's a pro tip. And with our Thanks.io benefit we have at Epic, it's even easier to send a handwritten card. It takes 2 seconds. Yes, Lauren's asking, so you must have gotten their address. Even if they didn't give you an address, if
Oh, I find it.
you
I find
find it.
the address. So here's
Okay.
the way for you to find addresses.
Yeah, tell us your secrets.
First place I go to, we call it our CAD, which is the Central Appraisal District, our property tax district. Where do they get their mail? So I'm looking for their name. Sometimes they may say, I live on this street or what, I've written everything down. My daughter will say, my mother is better than the FBI. That's what Hadley always says. If I am kidnapped, my mother will find me before anybody does. So another thing that I do, and I have for the team, I've even used it. I think he's on the call right now. When one of our team members, Kevin, started dating, I would even use this to check out who he was dating to make sure that he was protected. But it's called Truth Finder. And I have it for the team for maybe when there's some uneasiness of people who have contacted them to look at property. But that's also how I find people to be able to send those thank you notes to as well, because it has their addresses in it and different things like that. So truthfinder.com is another place to be able to
Great
find.
advice. Great
Mhm.
advice. So with Thanks.io, you could create a template that you could just quickly pop into a thank you card. You could customize it if you want to, or just drop it and send it. And it's you could choose your handwriting font and everything. So it's a great benefit we have here. So let's go back to calendar. So you say one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to say, show me your calendar. And what are you looking for? What's a sign? What do you see in a successful agent's calendar versus maybe a struggling agent's calendar? What's the difference look like?
First, I'm looking for what I call non-negotiables. Picking your children up from school, taking your children to school. Maybe you do some type of spiritual studies or, whatever those things are. Maybe you have a class that you do. You might have a full-time job. What? So those are your non-negotiables that should always be on your calendar, and very visual on your calendar as well, so that you can plan around them. And then I'm looking for the spots of that maybe they had a blank spot and they went to lunch with somebody. So, what's more important, going to lunch or eating again in a couple of months through being able to have business? So I'm looking for those holes and then discussing the holes with them of why aren't these holes filled with things that will be income producing activities? And so that's where I start. But the key to success in a calendar is always have your non-negotiables first and work around what those non-negotiables are. And if you take something off of your calendar because you think it's more important than an income producing activity, in my opinion, that income producing activity should be back on your calendar before you go to bed.
So you gave an example of you've got prospecting on your calendar or lead generation on your calendar from 11 to 12. A good friend calls it, you haven't seen them in years, and they would say, I'm in town today. I'd love to go to lunch. Well, that's important too. So you can give up that hour to go to lunch with your friend, but then just move that hour time block to 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. Just don't take it off completely.
Take it all completely. And I also, if there's, you can also suggest times. If you want to look at lead generation or lead conversion, those are two different things. If you want to look at those and make those a non-negotiable, if somebody calls you and says, hey, I want to see this house today, instead of automatically giving up that time slot, why not say, I have 3 o'clock today available. Will that work for you? Why automatically give up where the lead generation is to go to do another activity? So that's another thing that I coach on is how.
Protect those non-negotiables.
Exactly.
Now, another thing we talked about is a four-letter word that you do not tolerate.
Yeah, no.
You challenge it, you don't accept it. And that's the word can't. When
Can't.
someone says, well, I can't do this because I'm doing this, how do you coach them through that?
You know, my boys, I have identical twin boys, Vikki, and when they were 5 years old, they were diagnosed with dyslexia. And there's a lot of misinformation out there about dyslexia. But the bottom line is they learn the English language a lot different than we do. And so they would say, I can't do it, Mom. And I would say, can't makes your mind stop working. You can't say can't. So I've carried that through into my adult life and into my coaching. So when an agent says to me, I just can't do it. Yes, you can. Your mind is going to stop working if you continue to say the word can't. Let's find a way. Let's find a way that works for you. And a lot of times I see that with agents who have other full-time jobs. I can't do it. I'm working full-time. You can. Let's coach you on how you can. And there's even other things too, where, in the coaching world, I am a nurturing coach. I've been told that. And so I've had other coaches say to me, you're not a real successful coach because you allow people not to do their homework. Well, first of all, I don't call it homework. I call it a commitment. It's a commitment to your life and to your business. I don't care whether you get it done. It's not going to affect me. It's you. It's your commitment. And so for some coaches, what they say is, did you get your homework done? No. And they hang up on them. And that's like a big thing to get to do in the coaching world. I think that sucks. So when somebody says to me, no, Robbie, I did not get it done. Why? Vikki, you were on the call the other day where I said, you have to ask questions.
Yeah.
They have to self-discover. Why? Why didn't you do it? I'm not here to judge you. Again, it's not my life. It's not my commitment. Why didn't you do it? Until I get to the source of the reason. And when people say to me, they're making excuses, it goes through me like a knife because it's a reason. I don't care what label you want to put on it. If you don't make those calls, there is a reason you're not making those calls. And it very well could be fear. That's usually what it is, or it's your calendar, or it's both. So that's how I coach. And can't is where it usually begins. And they usually say, I can't do it. And a lot of times that's fear driven. It's calendar or fear.
You lovingly and nurturingly coach your team members to being brand new agents doing 1 or 2 deals to 70 plus deals in a year. You did that with Catherine Lachaux when she was on our call a couple of weeks ago. You are her team leader. Talk to me about how you keep that momentum going when the agent is going well, and how do you keep them from burnout? How do you keep that momentum thriving?
A lot of it, especially on the team, there's, I don't believe in ever pitting agents against each other at all. So anytime we do any type of competition or something like that on the team, the only person you should ever compete with is yourself in that mirror. And so I never try to do any type of game or, whatever that one person's always going to come out on top where they're beating other people. They'll come out on top because they've met their goals. That's the only thing that they're trying to beat is their goals. I have people on the team, Vikki, who, like Joe, who I shared with you earlier, he's one of the people who started the team with me. Joe's 30 years in the business. I mean, I'm only 23 years. Joe's 30 years in the business. Joe's at retirement. So Joe used to produce 7 and 8 million a year. Very happy with doing that amount. Today, Joe might do 2 or 3 million a year. So I coach Joe now where Joe is. That's all Joe wants to do is 2 to 3 million. Now, if Joe did 7 million, then of course we might hit 100 million in sales. But that's not what Joe wants to do. It isn't, the team isn't about me, it's about them. Each one of them as an individual who have collectively come together for leverage in systems. But it's about their goals. So some of the things that we do in order to keep them motivated, because I'll have some on the team who are a lot more motivated than others on the team in meeting those goals. And so I'll do things like our monthly awards. That's a big thing for them because it's me praising them where their clients are seeing it and not necessarily them having to always say, I've done this great and this great and this great. And it's helped, like Kate is on the call right now. Kate she's a builder's agent. At one point in time, she had 7 builders who she was representing in 1 year. And so that is what you see primarily at the end of every month is Kate being a builder's agent. And there are times where I'll do cartwheels because it's like, y'all, Kate's top agent in, residential real estate resale right now. I love whenever I see that because where she excels is in new construction. And because of what we put out every single month, that is what she's known in our community. Kate's the go-to. I mean, she is probably the top agent in the community when it comes to new construction. It'd be very hard to beat her, so to say. So she knows that world. She serves on a state level. And so I'm constantly putting that out for Kate. Kate doesn't have to do it. So
I love that. You're edifying her if she doesn't have to do it herself. And then it has more impact. And you're proud. I can tell you're so proud of your team. And I love that. I call myself a proud mama bear too. I got some of my agents on this call right now that I'm just so proud of. So, so let's talk about one thing that you just said, just trigger something in me. You said you help them reach their goals, whatever their goals are. But doesn't that start with knowing what our goals are? Hello, everyone on this call, everyone listening. If you don't know what you want to do with your real estate business and what your numbers want to look like, how are you going to get there? So, Robbie, is that something you do real early is goal setting and goal workshops?
We do. We start in usually September or October is where we start with our goal setting for the next year. You have to think about once you hit October, you're pretty much working on first quarter of the next year. So whatever activities you're doing right now are going to affect your sales for the next 30 to 90 days. So by the time you hit October 1, last quarter's gone. Third quarter is affecting fourth quarter. So we're always trying in the beginning of that quarter is trying to get the goal setting done. And that will go sometimes until about the first or second week of November. We're still fine with that. And then I'll usually do in December another follow-up to it where if people want me to hone in on what those goals are going to be. But keeping in mind, December, you're already, if you don't have things coming on the books for January, you've already lost your first month of the first quarter. So it's, we try to start as early as we can, and that's usually September, October. And I will say this with the team, we've done at one point in time, we did 98 million in sales. We've done 80 million in sales. We've done 85 million in sales, 86 million in sales. I don't look at that every year and say, we have to do 98. We did 98 million last year. We have to do 98 million this year. Because the goals change, it may be that somebody like Joe had a reset in life. He's not going to do the business that he did before. And I'm not kicking Joe off the team. I'm not going to say, no, I don't want you around anymore because now you're not going to give me these big accolades of doing 100 million in sales. It doesn't work that way. It's about Joe and Joe's life. And that's what I do as a coach. It's not about the collective numbers for me. If the collective numbers come together and we do that, that's beautiful. But if it doesn't, it doesn't, as long as they reach their goals. That's the most important thing to me.
You're so inspiring. Like I love your leadership style because there are some team leaders out there. Listen, when I tell you guys this, there are some team leaders out there that you have to meet certain metrics, certain quotas, or you are kicked off the team. You are no longer valuable to them. And Robbie is saying, if you're doing what, it's your business. She is going to do her business. She's going to help you do your business. But at the end of the day, it's your business. And I love that. And you've learned a lot from
Yes.
your mentors. You've had some mentors that taught you some things and impacted your leadership style that you carry with you today. Tell us about one of those examples.
But Ann DeFries was National Women's Council president, and she was also Florida's Women's Council president. One of the things that Ann said to me, I sat on the nominating committee for Florida, and so all of the people were seeing what their results were and who had gotten an office and who didn't get an office and these different high-level committees and things like that. And so Ann said, Robbie, it's always interesting to watch the winners and the losers because how you win or lose defines your grace and your leadership. And she said, there are some who win and everybody knows they've won because they've let everybody know. They're not winning with grace. So the person who lost is hurting watching this person be so joyful in the way that they're winning. So there's a way to win and there's a way to lose gracefully. And so that really has impacted me, is that in all aspects, have grace and have a professionalism about yourself in your interactions with other people and how you interact with them. And
also that will really help our agents not get that identity crisis when you don't win the listing, when you don't win the client, when you don't win the contract, if somebody else does because you're in a multiple offer situation. How do you handle that with grace and with with integrity, right? Grace and integrity do go hand in hand. I think a lot of this business. But what I'm hearing is that you have taken that into your leadership by instilling that in all of your agents that, listen, we're not in competition with each other. We're all winners. In fact, you make it a priority that when you're doing your monthly awards, that it's not always the same people winning every single month, right? And I love that there's a lot of equality on your team. Okay, so a few practical takeaways for our agents today. Consistency. We talked about consistency on almost every call every week. But what is your take on the word consistency and how's that going to make or break these agents that are listening?
Being consistent in everything that you do, especially with your follow-up with your sphere. Many of the members on my team have a touch program. I call it a connecting program. 33 to 36 ways that they connect with their clients on a yearly basis. And it's staying consistent with that. And, one of the things that I find with agents is, and I always ask the question, so what happens in October? What is October 31st? It's Halloween. So what does Halloween do? Halloween kicks off holidays every 3 to 4 weeks, all the way through New Year's Eve. And so what do agents do? Well, they take off of work. usually about when Thanksgiving hits, because it's family and it's this and it's that, and the kids are out of school. So if you're not even staying consistent in your business, how are you going to pay your bills? We just talked about this a while ago. How are you going to pay your bills in January and February when all your Christmas bills are coming due because you've overspent on credit cards? But now you have no business in January and February because you took off in November and December. So it's staying consistent with your calendar throughout the entire year. And it's staying consistent with anything that you do. If you have a closeout system, staying consistent with your closeout system. If you write thank you notes after open houses, staying consistent with that. Whatever it is that you do, staying consistent.
So I do want to leave it open for some agents that are listening today to just pick your brain and ask you some questions. And I do apologize, guys. I am coming off of possibly COVID. I don't know what I had. I am not 100% today, but Robbie and I both talked this morning about commitment and consistency. This we have a commitment to you, to our agents, to our fellow realtors, that we're here to help you level up your business. You have to want it for yourself. No one's going to do the work for you. There's going to be coaches, mentors, trainers, three different things, as Robbie explained in another call earlier this week, that can get you there. But Robbie says one of the best people to help get you there, you guys that are at Epique are so lucky to have a coach, because not just your area leader, mentor, coach that Epique assigns, which is amazing, amazing benefit free to you. But we've got Rob Stein. We've got one of the leaders in the coaching industry pouring into you. And if you're not tapping into that resource, do you know that that value is anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a month that another agent, another broker is paying for right now? They're paying that every single month. They are building that into their business plan, that they're going to invest in themselves and get a coach. We have one for you. Robbie, what should that be a non-negotiable on their calendar, Robbie? If you're doing a calendar for someone, is that on there?
100. Did y'all lose me for a minute?
We
Is it
froze. That's
okay?
okay.
It froze for a second. But Mindset Monday, y'all put that on your calendar. That is good stuff. And just get in the Power Academy and start like, I talk a lot about open houses. His training on open houses is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So I would go through the open house training that's in there as well. But there's just so much you can learn in the Power Academy. And even when I'm talking to other agents who are looking at, I don't call it recruiting, I call it an opportunity to change your life and change your business by coming to Epique. It's been life changing for me. But Rob is one of the people who I talk about whenever I'm talking to other agents who are looking at coming and making us part of their real estate family, is how great Rob Stein is. I mean, he is. Use it. It's free for us.
Yes, use it. It's free. Okay, I do want to open it up to questions, comments, feedback for Robbie. I'm just very inspired. I'm inspired by the way you lead your team. I'm inspired by your work ethic. I'm inspired by your level of commitment. So thank you for being a role model for me.
Hey, I just want to say, wow, this call was incredible. It hit home. So many nuggets, so much to take in, and I am so glad my wife and I did not miss this call. And we need to definitely connect with more calls with you guys. This was incredible.
This was gold. Like every section, everything that you covered was gold. Vikki, I'm so glad that you posted this morning, and I'm so glad we were able to hop on. Thank you so much, Robbie, for just pouring out. Thank you.
You're amazing with a capital A.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Daryl, and thank you,
You
Chris.
made
I'm
me
glad you
cry.
guys were on the call.
Thank you.
Okay, who else has something for Robbie? Samantha had her hand up. Samantha, what do you have today?
Well, just like one of those scenarios where if you don't even have 100 people or know 100 people yet, you should get really vulnerable and go on your Facebook or go on your social media and tell your friends, like one on one, hey, I'm trying to build I call it my top 100. And so I'll be like, I'm making a VIP list for my top 100 we do client events. So that's where I'll say this is where you'll see the client events and personal information and just things like that. And they're also in an email. So you can, that a lot of people are even willing to say, like, if you're like, hey, do you mind if I just keep you updated on your neighborhood? People will say yes.
Mhm.
Surprisingly, it's vulnerable, but people.
So Samantha's on my team, and she's a top agent on the team. And she hears, this is what we talk about all the time because we're an organic team. So this is what we do.
You know what I love? I love this industry so much. I tell you, I did burn out though once. I got out for a couple of years, but I got back in, thank goodness. But I will tell you because I didn't like somebody else controlling how much money I could make, right? When you don't work for yourself, you have no control over how much money you're going to make. So when you work for yourself, you are the one in the driver's seat, which I like that. It's not just about the money. It's about everything. Like when can I take my kid can I go to listen, I never want to ask again, can I have a day off because I would like to go do this? No, I will control my schedule. So I digress. What I love is that look at all the nuggets we're picking up from this 1 hour of our 40-hour work week or 20-hour work week or however many hours we have to invest in our real estate business. It is about who you're spending your time with, where you're spending your time, your choices. And we need to surround ourselves, guys, with like-minded professionals, with people that are doing the things that we want to do so we can learn from them. Don't isolate in this business. I just can't stress it enough. If you want to be next level, if you want to level up, get in the right rooms with the right people. I can't stress that enough, Robbie. Well, I mean, my goodness, I've just got goosebumps today.
I'm going to say this too, and talking about getting in the right room with the right people. I've had agents who, and I'm gonna call out Kate on this. She's on this call.
Kate.
Mm-hmm. Kate, I shared with y'all earlier, and she is, I always laugh and say, if you don't like Kate, there's something wrong with you. Kate is an extremely respected realtor in our area and on a state level as well. And she said to me one time, I can't believe I was in that room. I'm not of the same caliber. And that goes through me like the word can't does. And I said, and I'm sure, Kate, you remember this conversation. I said, Kate, don't you ever say that again. You deserve to be in this room just like I deserve to be in this room. We all deserve to be in this room. You were offered a seat at this table. And so it's anytime somebody offers you that, y'all take it. It's like Lee Garland always says, if somebody offers you the stage or the microphone, take it. You do deserve to be there. So any of those invitations, don't ever feel like you're less than anybody in this industry. And don't ever let a realtor ever say, I've been in the industry for 40 years. Okay, well, if you've been in the industry 40 years, you would already know this. Why do you have to tell me how long you've been in the industry? I can't stand that. So don't let anyone make you feel less because you've been in this business one day or 50 years. You have just as much value at any table that there is as the next person does. Everybody brings something to the table.
Amen to that. Yes. When you look at these people that you put on a pedestal because they're doing X number of deals or they've been in the business this long or they're running a big power team like Robbie Johnson is, guys, she got the same education you did. She got the same opportunity you did. Robbie and me and everybody else in this call started the same way you started.
Right.
There's no what's the word I'm looking for? There's no special gift just for some agents that you have to be part of this club or this group to get this level of success. We all have it. We just have to find it. We have to commit to it. We have to be consistent with it. And we have to work. We have to grind. We have to hustle. We have to work. And then we can have the things that those people that are on the pedestals that we've created are having every day, right? And it didn't come easily. Robbie, you put in blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of work to get where you are today. But so can Lauren, and so can Samantha, and so can Daryl. We can all get there.
That's right.
That's right. Okay, golly, I just feel motivated to go sell something now. I don't know about y'all. I'm ready to go sign a contract or something. No, I am very inspired. So thank you so much, Robbie. Guys, go have a great day. Robbie, have a great birthday weekend and a holiday weekend, and we will see you soon. Bye,
Bye,
guys.
y'all.
Thank you all.
See you.